This is a shout out to my patrons. Thank you all so much for supporting us and give you a sense of what's coming. It's April 2nd. It's Good Friday. Not very self, but Good Friday for all the rest of us. And coming up in the spring, we're going to be doing a variety show, essentially, which will be streamed directly to you. Um, we've got some music, we've got some readings of plays and prose, and we have some really interesting guests, starting with my buddy Lewis, who lived for many years under a bridge in Evansville, Indiana. Um, Summer, spring, fall, winter, Louis lived there. So if you've never lived under a bridge in Evansville, Indiana, he's going to tell you how you can do that. And also some other folks, friends of mine here in town. So they'll be popping in. I'll be talking to them. They'll be talking to me. And and that's what's going on. Today, I'm going to go way back. I found this stuff that I wrote back in the 80s of the previous century. Just a couple of short things. I actually typed these up on a typewriter. And they were just ideas, thoughts. None of them ever came towards anything other than what they are. But I'm going to read them to you. And I also thought what would be cool is you guys are patrons of me and the Art Center, but you probably don't know each other. Me, and you've joined together to support this enterprise, but you don't know each other. So it might be interesting for you to get to know each other. So I'm going to start with one of the patrons, who is her name's Mary Lydon. She lives out in Long Island. She's my aunt. She married into the family, married my uncle Ambrose. And though we're not actually blood, we are deeply, deeply family. I love Mary very much. And she is probably indescribable, but I will try. Mary Lydon loves to argue more than she loves to dance or sing or cook. And she's a phenomenal cook. Many, many meals have I had he's prepared that are just you just fall down at the table. It's so good. But Mary loves to argue, and so she and I have argued across many the table over many the year, and she's often in error but never in doubt. And she's usually right. But anyway, Mary Lydon is a fierce Irish American soul whom I love very, very much. And you would love her too. You do love her, even though you don't know that. So that's one of the patrons, Mary Lydon. Mary, to you. So I'm going to today is I found this stuff back in the 1980s. I'm just going to read them to you. It's about 3 pieces, short pieces. I guess this is prose. Here we go. This one's called Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone. Remember that little town in the Twilight Zone that the big city couple always drove into? The one that never showed up on any of their maps, where it was always Sunday morning on a summer day. Hard blue sky, sun beaten down, tree-lined streets, little white houses and little neat rows. Pleasant Town or Smallville or something Hollywood like that. And not a soul in the whole place except them. The big city couple. His name is Bert, and she's Jane or Connie, and he's got a hat and a tie, and she's wearing high heels, and they drive an old late 40s Ford, and they can't for the life of them remember how they ended up there. And they walk around looking for somebody, anybody, looking for directions, looking for gas. They always start looking for something instead of getting back in their Ford and driving the hell out of Pleasantville like anybody with sense. Because obviously something ain't right. They go to the diner and see the prices from 10 years ago. And Jane says, that's strange. And they go to the town hall and swing open the big oak doors, and there's nobody there either. And then Bert starts getting a little crazy. Thinks he's being made a fool of, being played for a chump by these hokey pokey small town hicks. Thinks they're hiding in the bushes and laughing their asses off at him. So he starts yelling, I'll find you. I'll find you. I know you're here, and I'll find you. And Connie feels it too. She feels the eyes. Somebody's watching. Somebody's out there, up there, in there. It's like being under a heat lamp, like being on stage. Somebody's watching. And everything's so still, quiet. You can hear yourself breathe. You can hear the beat of your blood in your temples. Thumpa, thumpa, thumpa. And they start screaming up at the hard blue sky, we'll find you. We'll find you. And they lose their minds in that tiny little town that doesn't show up on any other maps. Pleasantville. Little town. Remember that town? Well, that's where I grew up. Pleasant. This one's called Little Guys. Everything. That's what I used to think. So I treated everything like it was alive. I mean, feed them, things stupid like that. But I used to talk my football, and I cried like crazy when my brother and his friends threw a Barbie and a Ken doll into a trash fire to watch them melt. I thought they could feel it, feel the fire. I used to think about crazy things too. I used to spook myself. Monsters living in the walls and dead people in the basement and that kind of stuff. And little guys, about a foot tall, like elves, I guess. Except they were mean and they hated me. And they lived in my room. They were always right at the edge of my vision, so that the only way to see them was not to look at them. And at night, when I'd be in bed, as soon as I closed my eyes, they'd be all over the room, climbing on the walls, moving around, changing things, crawling across the floor, and standing next to my bed looking at me. Open my eyes real quick, and they'd be gone. Except for a little peripheral flicker. Tiny movement in the corner as they jumped out of sight and hid. They were so quick. I'd stay up half the night trying to catch them. I'd say out loud, look, it's okay. I know about you. I won't tell anybody. Because that was what was so scary. I was the only one who knew they were there, and I figured they probably wanted to kill me. Had to kill me. So I wouldn't tell anybody else about them. So I tried to make peace with them, but they wouldn't say anything. They'd never come out when I was looking. I guess they didn't trust me. And I'd go to bed every night thinking I was going to be killed while I slept, sure, that I would never wake up. And then in the morning, I'd wake up just amazed that I was alive. And the first thing I'd do was to thank those little guys for not killing me. And I'd swear to them that I wouldn't tell anyone what I knew. And I guess they believed me because they never killed me. And I kept my word. But I guess I just told you, didn't I? Those little guys. All right, I got two more. No, I got one more. This is called Chicago, and I wrote this having never lived. Chicago. Think of riots and cops killing kids. Think of envelopes thick with unmarked bills and a straight Democratic ticket. Think of 10 million pigs all squealing at once and the blood hot and flowing on the floor. Think of gangsters. A punk tied up in the trunk of a car, late model black Fords, cheap brown suits, bootleg liquor in a brown clay jug, and a black man blowing on a horn. Think of Bo Diddley, bellowing out how bad he wants to fuck while 10 million white girls squeal. Think of city blocks on fire, screaming horses, clanging bells, and the old water tower unscarred. Think of 24 feet of snow and the wind like a knife off the lake. Think of a machine, oiled with pig blood and polished with pride, running at full capacity 24 hours every day of the year. Think of tall, thin buildings reflected in a lake on which a thin, shirtless boy skips stones. Chicago. All right, y'all. Happy Easter. And I'll be back with you in about 2 weeks, and maybe we'll have this variety show thing figured out. All right.